Good day, good people. Have you noticed what's been going on in our church grounds recently?
During the spring, the sanctuary garden has blossomed and bloomed, and we can see what a lovely space it will become as plants mature. Also, recently, the shrubbery along the south side of the church was removed and has been replaced with 3 miniature yews and a series of box bushes and other plants, which will give a pleasing horticultural and architectural shape to that view of the church. Thank you to those who have laboured and provided, and those who helped raise funds at the Summer Festival last year and at the Green Eucharist in February. We are maintaining a garden fund for ongoing support, so do support generously when the opportunity arises. We are also very grateful for the beautiful hanging baskets and pots of flowers at the church entrance. The memorial garden is also showing the fruits of hard work, and the wildflower turf is producing lots of flowers for pollinators. Our own bee colonies survived the winter, but both were weak and the cold, wet spring did not help them thrive, and sadly one colony died and the other appeared to have swarmed and left, although it had been very small in number. Undaunted, the beekeepers cleaned up the hives and equipment and made the boxes ready, and last week we acquired a swarm which had been collected by our bee trainer, and that is now ensconced in one of our hives. The new queen will have to go on a mating flight before she starts laying eggs and raising brood, but we are hopeful. In the meantime, we are now expecting a second swarm for our second hive. From last year's colonies, we've retained some frames of honey, so we will also have a go at producing some honey. Watch this space. The PCC also heard this week that our proposal to replace the church windows with double-glazed UPVC framed windows would not receive the support of the Diocesan Advisory Committee. This is partly because UPVC frames need to be wider, which would reduce the glazed areas quite considerably, because as you can see, the window columns on the north side are very narrow. In addition, UPVC is not very recyclable, and they raised a question about its longevity. The alternative is powder-coated aluminium, and we understand that much aluminium these days is recycled rather than mined, so this is perhaps the more environmentally acceptable solution, except that it is about twice the cost. I'd like to suggest that the environmental benefit of saving energy outweighs, or at least balances, the environmental cost of using UPVC. We're taking some expert advice, and it's possible that we might be able to achieve a compromise solution. In any event, we continue to work towards our goal of becoming carbon neutral by 2030. Recently, I went on a course of introductory lectures in environmental theology, and this was immensely encouraging. I mentioned in a recent sermon the concept of the church as oasis, and I'm hoping to do some more research and thinking on this as a possible model for our church as we look forward in our 70th anniversary year. The idea that we should be a physical oasis with trees and plants, a refuge for wildlife in the suburban cityscape. It is an idea inspired by the example of forest churches in the Amhara region of northern Ethiopia, where churches have for centuries been the focus for tree planting in a landscape that has become increasingly barren because of over-farming and climate change.
However, we might also see ourselves as a spiritual and cultural oasis in a society where people often feel ignored and left behind, where often our worth is measured in our capacity to participate in a consumer society driven by the generation of wealth at the expense of the planet's resources and inevitably of each other. There's much more to say about this, but for now, join with me in giving thanks to God for the spiritual oasis that He has given us in St. Francis Church.